We did it. We did it. We got through another week mostly, unless you live in a different country in which you're not off tomorrow.
It's not even a full week. It's like we're like doing this on a Thursday early, man.
That's true. But Thursday's our day, man. That was always our day. We just got to keep doing that. Welcome to Up at Noon at 5 Live, whatever you want to call it. I'm Brian Altano. That's Max Scoville. This is our weekly pop culture comedy variety show here on IGN, discussing movies, toys, video games, books, adults' playthings, nonsense, garbage.
Presented by hot dogs.
Presented by hot dogs. Yeah, we want to thank our sponsor, Hot Dogs, this week. Not like a specific brand, just the general concept of those things.
They didn't even pay us. We just love to chow down on those little bad boys. We have a good time eating those, and it's a good weekend for the wieners. It's a good one. The Frankfurters are out in full this couple of days coming up because people love to do the grilling. Look at that here. Buckle up and then chow down because here comes that hot dog coming to get it. It's coming in. It's coming right in. Oh, there it is. Hot dogs. Good job. Yeah, man. I like that. I was going to go off about it, and somebody said something the other day about how, like, yeah, well, I mean, news, games, and more. That's the news show. But Up at Noon, you guys just goof around and do whatever. Like, we don't do some effing research first. We do plenty of research. We make JPEGs. We have to find clips from movies that came out in 1997 that are like, yeah.
Do you know how much GD research we do on this show? How much swashbuckling research we do on this show? Are you kidding me? You know how many times a week Max and I go to our respective local libraries and we fog up the glass in the windows looking in real hard? Anymore. Are you kidding me?
Why you got to make the library like that car in Titanic? I don't want to hear that. That's disgusting.
I never saw that. I don't get that.
That's right. You didn't. That's true. They have sex in the car and they fog up the windows.
No, I spitefully never watched that movie.
Well, yeah.
I really liked this girl in high school, and she said she liked me too, and then she went to see that movie with somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, Titanic really debunked a lot of theories people had, which was that nobody had sex until 1957, but apparently they were doing it back on that big old boat in the aughts of the other century. Anyway, we actually do have stuff to talk about. Last week we said we were going to talk about the Ninja Turtles, and we're going to talk about them this week. Gosh darn it, we actually have some stuff to talk about because no matter how old and tired these things might seem, somebody's going to come along and dust them off and, fix them up. So like, I know that I look like the Steve Buscemi meme of like, how do you do, fellow kids? But really the joke's on you because the things I thought were cool when I was 8 are still cool and still worth talking about. I'm having a midlife crisis. Let's talk about Spawn toys.
Let's do it. It's been at least a couple of weeks since we've talked about Spawn toys together, and I think we should do it again.
Look, I wound up on a McFarlane Toys mailing list, and they keep sending me these scary dolls in the mail, and I'm going to talk about them if I have to. But so over here, we got some new stuff from McFarlane. They've been putting these out for a while. They just recently kind of started doing DC Universe, Multiverse, Metaverse, whatever the hell it's called. And they sent us some Arkham figures, which are actually really cool. I'm honestly, at this point, I feel like we've seen so much of the Arkham designs that I'm sort of tired of looking at them. And whatever we see next from a Batman game, I hope it has like a little bit of a different aesthetic. But they sent over a logo
of an owl, and that's all you deserve.
That's fair. But yeah, they sent over really this Batman one. I like it a lot. The thing about these figures I realize is I think they look terrible in the packaging. I think they just kind of don't really bother. Like they're basically just, they put them in there to make them, to ship them or whatever. It's a Spawn doesn't look too exciting, but you take them out and you pose them and you get some cool results. This Joker is pretty awesome.
I like that Joker a lot.
Yeah, like you can he's got this hand gesture he's doing is like just so, I feel like you can kind of hear Mark Hamill's voice when he's doing that, like he's going to do a musical number. He comes with a gun and he comes with those little chomping teeth that you have to find. Here's one. There's actually 2 sets. There's like a closed one and then there's an open chomping one. So the Joker I'm a big fan of. The Batman is pretty good, except for the fact that he's still got this clunky ass cape, which is like, I wish it was more, cloth or posable or something. Mm-hmm. And then his shoes, it looks like he's wearing like tactical Crocs. They're just some real clompers there.
At that.
Yeah. So I don't know. Those are okay. More exciting, mostly because I haven't seen a lot of it or really don't even know what I'm talking about, is these figures from, what are they called? White Knight. Which is a sort of alternate reality Batman timeline where I believe the premise is the Joker gets rehabilitated and he becomes a cop and he wants to take down the biggest threat, which is the Batman. But they've got these kind of alternate designs here, which I'm digging. So this is
I really like Joker's bootleg Adidas track pants there.
Right,
I think both of these guys, they got like a raw stress for less thing going on.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. The Batman's like, he's got like a knife on his belt, which is kind of insane. I realize he's kind of wearing some like sexy thigh highs there. Like I feel like he's got this like tattered cape with this high collar, which is kind of a cool touch. But then he's also like, yeah, I'm gonna strut my stuff here and get a little fancy. And then also in this line, also look at the Joker's like got that like cartoon giant gun from like the original, the Tim Burton Batman, which I always was pretty fond of. Yeah. These look like really cool once you get them out of the package and start posing them. Joker has like a ton of awesome articulation. You can do some really cool stuff with that. Batman again has like a big rubbery cape, so it gets a little tricky getting him to do some dope poses. But I like that they gave him the Bruce Timm grapnel there. Also from this sort of line, they've got Azrael, who I've always thought was cool as hell because he is, but I don't know a damn thing about him aside from he was like the person who Batman got to like temp for him when Bane broke his back. But I guess they've got him. Yeah,
I remember that specifically. I had those comics. But I'm in the same boat as you. I don't know a ton about him, but I love that sword. That's a great sculpt.
This is one thing that's also very fun. I feel like the McFarlane Batman stuff they've been like lighter on accessories lately.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh no, it caught fire.
Oh, I really like that.
Also, look at his like big. He's got like big chunky just like big old boots. Very funny boots on that one.
Those are Wallies. Those are Wallabies.
And his big tassels. And then also because I feel like just Batman would be boring. They also sent over some Doom Eternal stuff. There is the Doom Guy, who I refuse to refer to as the Doom Slayer because he is Doom Guy. That is what you call him.
I like that toy a lot.
This is in the Phobos armor, which I've seen the other one. I haven't looked at it too closely. I feel like it's mostly a repaint, but they changed some stuff, I believe, which was, I could be wrong about this because I don't have it in hand to compare them, but I think that they gave him that grappling hook on the shotgun and then this little
shotgun's awesome
Predator thing.
Yep.
And this is like this figure is super articulated to a point, but I think the design doesn't really allow for it. Like you can't really do a lot of dramatic poses because he's just a big chunky donkey boy. Whoops. And then there's the Marauder, who is metal as all hell. This feels like some just like dope classic McFarlane Toys right here, and I'm very into it. These are the guys who show up to try to beat up Doom Guy in the new one. I didn't get that far. I couldn't get into Doom Eternal that much, but I respect that it exists, and I'm happy it hasn't gone away. And I like that there's more just horrifying things that my mother would cringe at the very sight of being made into McFarlane Toys. Like Doom and McFarlane.
Look at those little cool dead eyes. I love that.
Look at this little. I like also that he's got like stuff written on his axe. Like if he gets bored while he's taking a crap, he can like look at that instead of the shampoo bottle.
You think he brings that in there to 20 poops?
You tell me this guy doesn't bring the axe in the bathroom with him when he's dropping chow and blowing ass?
I actually think that dude just blows ass on the battlefield and doesn't even. I don't think he's
investigate
ever
further.
Yeah,
it probably takes a while to get that off. Let's just do like what's under here. What is that?
I think he just poops whenever he wants, and it just goes everywhere.
I think is it Spanx? He looks like he's wearing Spanx. He wants to, like cheerleaders wear. Anyway, they also put out a new Spawn. We already unboxed this one, so I don't want to rip up the packaging, but it comes with an axe now. Malibu Stacy has a new hat, and Spawn has a new axe. So there you go. I think that's a Target exclusive. Anyway, these are all run you about $20. Available where Toys is sold at, whether that be online or in a physical actual place.
Available where Toys is sold.
Yeah.
Joshua Ryan on the YouTube chat says, how do the wives feel about the huge influx of toys? There's a lot.
Not great. Yeah,
not great. Honestly, there's a lot of push and pull with that, especially now that they're coming to the respective casas.
Yeah,
it's definitely a little bit of it's a little bit of a battle.
I figured we could talk about that. A while ago, we talked about Back to the Future Playmobil on here, and they were like, "Oh, cool, you talked about Playmobil, good stuff." And then out of the blue, like randomly, I think you got one of these too. This small package showed up on my doorstep like earlier this week, which includes Shaggy and a ghost and Scooby-Doo and there was like no note or anything. And my wife like came home and I was just like posing this like my wife is a dentist. Like that's a real job. They make Playmobil sets of people who do that. Like, and then she comes home and she's like, so what are you up to? And I'm like sitting there with like a backwards hat and a beer open and just like making a dog hold a flashlight. And it's just like, so did you buy those or did they? And I was like, I can't do anything about it. A German company sent these to me in the mail. What am I supposed to do?
It is very hard to explain. But that being said, I think they did a really great job with these toys now that our wives aren't here. The fact that they made there's an actual, so like I grew up in the household of a run by a European immigrant woman, my mom. And so Playmobil was pretty normal for me to have as a kid. I had the OG Playmobil Ghost, which did not have arms in the air like this, which is super cool. The old Playmobil Ghost was just like a like very like neon green glow in the dark man who just had like a shell that went over him. Yeah, there's the Scooby Snacks. But they did such a good job with this Scooby Doo. Like, look at that.
I'm showing off the accessories, but yeah.
Yeah, this Scooby Doo is able to hold a flashlight, and the Shaggy over here, even better. He has a burger. Like, he just has a cheeseburger that he can eat and hold on to. And he's got what really
messed me up about this is I don't like that he's wearing cargo pants because I feel like that is a modern addition to the Shaggy design. I like that we're doing the makeup YouTuber trick here to like cover up our autofocus. There we go. Look at that.
Didn't even notice that. You're totally right. You know what though? Also, as a cartoon pothead, I think that cargo pants are probably the best advancement in pant technology ever for guys like him. You know, like snacks, wallet, keys, Zippo.
Yeah.
You know, bowl, bud.
So I want to show off the funniest part, which I love a lot, is that you take the Ghost and just stop looking at me. I don't want to talk about me. I want to talk about the Ghost. Okay, so you unmask him, and he looks like a little pervert. Look at that awful man. He's just like this. He's horrible. Like he's got this little, but it gets worse actually. You can take off his Ghost costume. Maybe these are made for European children who are mostly smarter than American adults. So I don't know what to say. Look at this. It's horrifying. Look at what he's wearing. I have so many questions.
You can see his chest hair is just popping out, and he's got this funny little mustache. I don't know what he's wearing, honestly. He looks like a dude from Midsummer.
Yeah, no, he does. He's got red chest hair. He's got the mustache of a pervert. I don't know. I think there's nothing more suspicious than somebody whose head hair, facial hair, and chest hair are all like on full display, and none of those things match. That's just like.
Let's talk about these little shoes too. Look at those little shoes.
The shoes are that's suspicious as hell.
And then he's got like basically this doctor's note. It's like this thing that he pulled out of like an X-ray machine, which is it's talking about a ghost. Here's the thing. If this is based on a specific episode of something and contextually this makes sense, I didn't see it. And so I don't know. But what I will say is I'm super happy to see Playmobil as a company do weird stuff like this because that's really what it's my favorite stuff in toys. That's what it's all about.
And to answer your question, our wives don't know what to make of what any of this is like. Yeah, we should talk about Ninja Turtles because that's a big thing going on right now. One thing that I should mention, first of all, Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg are apparently attached to do a rebooted animated Ninja Turtles movie. Those are the guys who worked on Superbad and Preacher and something else. I forget what. A bunch of
Sausage Party?
Yeah, that was. I guess that's their only animated experience. But like, I feel like they're a decent fit for doing Ninja Turtles because they're, they do pothead humor, which is what Ninja Turtles has always been sort of. At the very least, sort of a lampoon of, but like they're a bunch of dudes who live in the sewer and eat pizza. Like there's some material there. We don't have any like visuals or anything to go on this, but I'm like kind of excited about this news. I think Paramount's working on it. I forget. Does Paramount, are they underneath Sony?
I forget actually, but I think what's awesome about this is that like in a perfect world, there's always a new Ninja Turtles thing on the horizon, right? Like that is sort of like a timeless IP. It's something that I think that like every new generation needs their own version of. This specifically is something that's really fascinating because we got 2 Ninja Turtles movies. The first one was fine, and the second one was awesome, and no one watched it. And then they just basically killed off that specific, you know.
Do you remember the 2007 one that we're showing the trailer for this right now? This was surprisingly fun. This felt like very self-aware. It was weird because I think it was before the Nicktoons cartoon had really caught on, but it wasn't fully leaning into nostalgia. It came out the same year as the live action Transformers did. And it was before we'd really gotten that like deluge of like, hey, let's make a new movie based on all the crap we grew up with. So this like landed in a weird kind of half measure. I saw it in theaters with my friends because we were those guys, but it's odd because it takes place after sort of all that. Like it's basically like, hey, after they beat the Shredder, here's what's going on, which was like an odd. It wasn't quite Old Man Logan territory, but it's like, are they still teenagers? Like, are they 19 and figuring out what to do with their lives? Like it was, but I hope that, I don't know. I think that they got so close to totally hitting the nail on the head with the second Ninja Turtles movie in terms of just like doing interesting stuff with what was people were nostalgic for.
It was infinitely more toyetic than the first one, which I think like deviated from everything we liked about the original in terms of design. Like the first Ninja Turtles live action movie from like Michael Bay's production studios basically revamped the Turtles in a way I don't think a lot of people liked. And the second one took Bebop, Rocksteady, Krang, all those dudes and nailed it. Just totally nailed it. And then no one really saw it. And it's such a bummer because I think there's something there. Like I totally think there's room for something there. So yeah, I'm excited to see what these guys do. I hope they go with sort of an art style that feels a little more timeless. Although I really liked what they did in 2007. It's tough to make an animated movie that looks good 13, 14 years later, right? But I think these guys might like it depending on what they find and what they land on. I hope it's something that looks like something that we can watch 15 years from now. Just watching this trailer right here makes me want to rewatch this movie because I remember it being like super fun, but I only watched it once.
Yeah, I vaguely remember it. I remember thinking it was kind of nice that I mean, I don't want to say like Michelangelo was a stoner, but he's always been a party dude. And I think they kind of did a good job of making that. Like, I think he was like delivering pizzas or something. It was basically like, oh yeah, Donatello's like still like a scientist, but yeah, Mikey's a screw up. Like he's
Mario Madness in the YouTube chat says, I want Seth Rogen to voice Master Splinter. I could totally see he's got that like weird gruffness to his voice. I think that'd be awesome. Correct me if I'm wrong, if you're watching on Twitch or YouTube, and sound off in the chat, but was the 2007 CG animated Ninja Turtles movie a like quasi semi sequel to something? Like, I feel like it was.
I think it was based on some comics. Like they had characters in there who were like new to the screen, but had been kicking around for a while before that. Maybe
I could have sworn it was like a semi sequel to the original live action movies, but maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know. Yeah, I like that they always get kind of weird and transformative with that stuff. But
where my turtle headset.
Yeah, right. So anyway, speaking of turtles, going back to the sort of the old school, the classic stuff, we have. Let's see here. We have some photos of Super 7's newest Ultimate Ninja Turtles. Like we're in a very good time to be like a turtle fan. We've got. What am I doing here? Sorry.
Conjointly at the exact same time right now, NECA and Super 7 are basically creating alternate dimensional, like retro revisionist versions of your favorite 90s TMNT action figures. And they're both going slightly different directions and different build qualities and stuff like that. But we're big fans of Super 7. We love NECA too, of course. But Super 7's right here in San Francisco. And I'm really excited for the world to become normal again so we can hop over there and buy some toys in person. We love that store. We've filmed in that store for Up at Noon. And they are doing they have been doing a bunch of sort of retro remixed Ninja Turtle toys that are bigger than the ones you had when you were a kid, but based on those original designs, right down to the original accessories and everything, and those weird orange-brown weapon racks.
I'm not sure. I think they're I think I think we've got this image pulled up here. I'm not even sure. We're trying to figure this out. It's always something, you know. But
yeah, I think these are 6-inch, right?
These are, I believe. Let's see. Hold on a second. I have to switch, change windows. Go to. There we go. Okay, there it is. I think I got it. No,
these are 7 inches. Bear with us, folks. These are just picture a 7-inch tall Raphael based on the original design. We're getting there. But yeah, Super 7's been doing a lot of 3 3/4 scale stuff in the reaction line. But specifically, they've also been doing a lot of more high-end stuff. Brian Flynn was part of the sort of Masters of the Universe revitalization lines and stuff like that. Big old school toy fan, totally gets it, totally understands why these things are interesting. He did toys based on just this year alone, I would say, like Teen Wolf, Break-In. He did right before that, RoboCop. Just all kinds of awesome stuff. And so the figures they're doing now are basically high-end versions of the Playmates toy line that you had when you were kids. They come with multiple weapons. And remember that? I don't know if you remember, a lot of the Turtles came with that weird communicator thing, which is like this little...
A shell phone.
Yeah, it's a shell phone. So they come with that. Weapon racks on the backs and stuff like that. So you can take Raph's weapons and stick them into his pockets and stuff like that. So yeah, I really dig it. They've done them based on Baxter Stockman. Let's see, the Foot Soldiers, Splinter, Shredder, and I believe a few others. I think they're like slowly getting through all of the Turtles. And so yeah, it's a good time to be alive.
We have pictures of them. I just can't get it to work because why would anything work in 2020, you know?
It's
just
fun.
Work, for God's sake. This is the second week in a row we try to talk about these turtle toys and they don't work for some reason. Did I do it? For God's sake, just let us show them the Ninja Turtles. Is this going to be like a running joke where we're always like, let's talk about, God damn it. Okay, well, I guess we'll figure that out next time. I don't know.
I see it now.
You see it?
Yeah, I think we're close, Max. I see.
This is weird.
I see all.
Says them live.
I see all of your erotic tabs are open.
You should be seeing those.
Well, we're all seeing them. Kissyfacemouth.com.
Well, that doesn't help us. I could point the camera at the screen. Let's talk about something else. This is not working right now. We should probably move on.
Let's switch over to something else. I want to talk about something really, really special to me. We will try to get back to Turtles. I'm sorry about that. I promise you.
We're going to have to do it next week, I guess. We got to...
Every week. Hey, you know what? I want to keep putting Ninja Turtles in thumbnails, and so are you, until we're dead. So let's see. A really, really awesome thing arrived in my mail this week. You all right?
Go ahead.
Are you doing good? Kissyfacepeoples.com.
I don't even know what's going on. Is everything?
Did
he get the? Yeah, he's just moving the screens around and stuff.
All right, what are we looking at right now?
I can see like half of Alexio's tabs. Let's just talk about the Zelda guide. Brian, you got something really cool in the mail. You got a hand-drawn Zelda player's guide with all sorts of maps and treasures and trinkets. And for anybody who hasn't figured out that game over the last 35 years, now they have a way to do it with class.
So as you know, or as you should know by now, I'm a gigantic Zelda fan, especially old school Zelda. No disrespect to the new ones; the 3D ones are awesome. But this is the aesthetic I grew up on. So a friend of mine, Phil Summers, has been creating this thing called Old Games, New Guides, which are basically strategy guides, players guides, like you got back in the day, or like they hound you for at GameStop. And he, instead of just like making them look like a wiki or something like that. Nice work, Flex. This is looking beautiful over here. Where am I? Okay, here we go. He draws them by hand from scratch, writes every word. And so this guide particularly is super, super cool. It's based on the original Legend of Zelda. It comes with a full-on pull-out map, which is like just a sketch of the original map from the game. It tells you where all the heart pieces are and the dungeons and stuff like that. I super, super love this. Here's the deal, before you get too excited. Phil put 300 of these up for sale, the physical versions, and they sold out within seconds. He was kind enough to send me one. I would have bought one in a heartbeat, but all of you guys beat me anyway. So in the meantime, you can actually buy a PDF version of this, but before we do that, I want to show you what we're getting into here. Every one of these covers on the inside flap is different. So I got the mummy, which is great because I love mummies. That's a great, great beast of a man.
Let me see that mummy. Show me the mummy. Oh, that's a good one.
It's a good mummy. And so, yeah, you open it up, you've got contents, and then you've got basically how to play the game. And these are hand-drawn illustrations, essentially based on the direction the original NES manual went, strategy guys went back in the day. But it's all, my favorite version of Link is the short, kind of stocky, stout, chunky version of Link, right? And so it's got all the weapons and stuff like that, all the special items that you can get, even like stuff like this, like the food and the magic potions. Like there's the quest items you get from dungeons, and then you get into the actual kind of. And here's the story, right? Like he actually drew out like beats for each story, which is like a lot of the concept art and promotional art that went for Link's Awakening, Link to the Past, and the very old Zelda games were essentially in this style, which I really, really love. But yeah, he's got full-on maps for each level, as you can see.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and then it's like you get breaks between them where there are basically drawings of different things that happen throughout the quest, which is awesome because I feel like when we say this a lot, but when you look back on video games like this, the ones that you played when you were a kid, your brain does this thing where it melts together the experience you had playing it and the art that surrounded it and creates this thing in your mind that's much more of an adventure and experience than a bunch of like kind of chunky 8-bit pixel art graphics. But yeah, there are like, I mean, there's a part in the game, a couple of parts in the game where you have to float on a raft across like one screen. And here, Phil has drawn that as this like incredible epic thing. Yeah,
I love that.
I love it so much.
Quick question. Joe Cartwright in the chat says a Super Metroid one would be awesome. This guy's done a couple other ones, right?
Yeah, so he's done them for Ninja Gaiden, Contra, and now the original Legend of Zelda. I feel like he would probably do the original Metroid before Super Metroid. I want to show you my favorite spread in this entire book because it's just so gorgeous. Yeah, and it's like really endearing, the writing in this thing too, because it's like when it says the end, you get to the next page, and he talks about how you can put in Zelda to do the second quest. And he says, I really wanted to include maps for the second quest, but this project ended up being much more work than I thought. Hope that you understand. Thanks. Which is just like a supremely, sort of like Japanese illustrator thing to do is to sort of be like, I hope you appreciate this. And it was very hard. Thank you. But Philip worked on this for a year straight. Like I said, the physical versions are sold out for now. Hopefully he does more. But in the meantime, you can get PDFs of this, Ninja Gaiden and Contra, all three for $2, or pay what you want. If you like the art, kick him more money.
Man,
I support it because he's got a full-time job.
That's awesome.
And, me too.
This also this feels like somewhere between the illustrations and old Nintendo Power, but also like what we would draw on the back of our homework. Like this is. I remember drawing like so many levels and just being like, oh, this is where like the turret is, like the bad guy's going to come out and you get in this room and it's the boss is here, but he's like actually making a functional guide, which is cool as hell.
My first experience doing whatever this job was in third grade. Me and two other friends started a video game magazine where we just like drew maps and wrote tips and codes. We basically made like a bootleg pirated Nintendo Power. And we printed it out on the library printer, and we handed them out to kids at school. And it was like, that's what this reminds me of. It's super, super cool. So yeah, that's handdrawngameguides.com. Once again, handdrawngameguides.com. And you can get all 3 PDFs for $2. And also follow Phil on Twitter. And if you see him putting up any more of these for sale, jump on them. They sold out within seconds this week. He actually only did 100 to begin with, and then dropped 200 more almost the next day. So, yeah, keep an eye on that.
All right. So speaking of things I drew lots of pictures of in my notebook as a child, this is a weird revelation that kind of goes along with, I guess, what you would expect from a massive merger like Disney buying Fox, Disney who owns Marvel, and Fox who owns Alien and Predator. It would make sense that the 2 iconic Hunter figures would get scooped up and put under the Marvel, publishing umbrella. There is no shortage of Alien and Predator comics over the years. There have been so many. I have a couple of the Omnibuy here. Aliens comics, they can be really, really good, and they can be really, really middle of the road. Like there are some definite, I'm like, this wasn't about aliens. I wouldn't be reading it. This could be very whatever. But there are also a bunch of insane crossovers, like Batman versus Predator, which just kicks so much ass. It also shows God, it's so much fun.
Who wins?
I don't want to spoil that. I mean, it's probably Batman. I don't know. I don't know if I
don't know who wins.
You want to know who? You want me to text you? But these were all published by Dark Horse, they also used to do the Star Wars comics. And I guess they just were I think they were just seen as not as much of a threat to DC. So DC was like, yeah, your boys can come play with our boys. We'll go do Superman versus aliens. We'll do, Predator versus Batman. They did all sorts of mix and match stuff with that. And it's, there's actually I've got a whole collection of that here's Batman fighting the alien too, which is a good time.
Who wins?
They made several of them. So take a guess. One of them is a bunch of bugs, and the other one is a rich guy who has a tank. I don't know. What do you think? Who do you think wins? Batman wins.
That's
who do you think?
It's fake. Yeah. I thought that would maybe draw him, not winning.
There's probably somewhere they buy. There's a lot of them. There's a whole collection of different ones. There's all sorts of. There's Green Lantern.
Gotham, or does he go to space?
I think both. I think there's, let's see. So this one, he goes to the Incan jungle or something. Yeah, he goes to an Aztec temple, and then there's aliens there, and so he has to blow up the temple. It's one of those weird things where they need to have Batman taking on drug cartels, but they're like, how are we going to get drug cartels to Gotham? And then they'd be like, screw it. Bruce Wayne's on he's taking a yacht cruise, and he also wants to fight so he'd just be doing some weird, he just get out of his out of his wheelhouse or whatever. Anyway, the point of this story is Marvel Comics will now be publishing Alien and Predator stories, which is interesting, I guess. It's cute that they've acquired the rights to both Alien and Predator, when I think it's sort of more like Marvel went to go see Disney and was like, excuse me, can we use some of the other things you own? Can we play with that? And I'm wary about this because I feel like Dark Horse was never afraid to get pretty grisly. And Aliens and Predators, one of them bursts through your rib cage and the other one rips out your spine. They're both pretty definitively R-rated. And Marvel's always been they've always kind of towed the line with the comics code and always kept things with some exceptions, they've kept things pretty much, just kind of safe for all ages. But then they dropped this insane artwork here. I don't know if I can pick this up without screwing everything up, but here's the Predator posted up on Avengers Tower holding Tony Stark's helmet, which is okay.
I would watch that movie so fast.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting cinematic universe, I guess. But I guess I'm sort of curious what they do, because I don't know if they're going to take I feel like the Aliens and Predator canon has always been a lot more kind of loosey-goosey than something like Star Wars. When Star Wars jumped from Dark Horse to Marvel, they basically wiped everything clean, and they were we're starting fresh. This is one cohesive timeline. But I've always loved Aliens comics because they're just they're all over the place. They're weird. They feel fairy tales almost. There's no real. There's definitely like things that are sort of canonical and there's existing characters and through lines, but they'll occasionally be like, Ripley was cool. Let's bring Ripley back. And it's like, how? Why?
How?
Yeah. She's fine here now. It's like, oh, here's Newt as an adult. And it's like, okay, why not? And then I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they do with that. But that's a weird development. Anyway, while we're on the subject of Marvel stuff, I got this wonderful book in the mail from our good friends at Inside Editions, who've sent us a bunch of interesting books. This is called Marvel Eat the Universe, the official cookbook. This is a Marvel Universe themed cookbook with all sorts of wonderful recipes from all over the place, including Rocket Raccoon's trash omelet. If you want to learn how to eat like a raccoon.
Amazing.
Deadpool's chimichangas. That one's pretty obvious. And these are made for, I appreciate that this isn't entirely gimmicky. Some of them are like a little bit silly. Like here's Hulk's Paillard Arrabbiata with purple smashed potatoes. So they were like, let's get weird colors and, gamma ray goop and stuff in there.
I love that.
The one I thought was pretty funny and like a little bit dark is like, when you think of the Punisher, can you even picture him cooking? Like when you think of the Punisher, he's typically cleaning guns in a garage or killing people at some kind of, mafia gathering, maybe.
I think like at best, the Punisher cooks like Brad Pitt cooks in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Yeah, no, exactly. Like
he
opens dog food for his dog and another can for himself, and then that's
he seems like he gets a lot of pizza comped because he like kills people who were hassling the guys who ran the pizza joint.
A violent, curious George.
So here's a weird recipe, which is the Punisher's Italian wedding soup. I just feel like wedding soup would be kind of a triggering dish for a guy whose family was murdered in front of him. It gets weirder, though, because I love it's like, Francis Castiglione, a.k.a. Frank Castle, or the Punisher, whatever you call him. He's on a mission of vengeance and vigilante justice. In some runs of the comic, he learns his military might in the Vietnam War. So this incorporates Vietnamese pho, which is a wonderful, beef broth with, all sorts of stuff thrown in there, with classic Italian wedding soup, which is popular with the mob who killed the Frank Castle's family. So it's just it feels like a weird kind of tone deaf recipe for Frank Castle specifically, but it's also, it sounds all right,
There's shawarma in there, of course, right? That you can cook some shawarma.
I don't know. I think that's an MCU thing. Oh, this is weird. Captain America beef tongue terrine.
What?
Why? What's the logic there? I'm curious.
Have you ever eaten beef tongue?
I have, yeah. No, I'll get lingual all the time. No, but this is the logic. I love this. He grew up in a tenement during the Depression. So, it's not a choice cut of meat.
So this is like pretty deep cut comic stuff. What do they do for Spider-Man?
I don't know. Oh, that's weird. Storms, tornadoes of beef. Weird sentence there. Thor's meat Mjolnir. Okay. Oh God, Juggernaut's breakfast burrito. I want to read that. That's an interesting one. I feel like he wouldn't have the best expertise on breakfast burritos.
Tornadoes of beef.
On there. I feel like I could actually half of these recipes, but some of these are very funny. There's one that's Nightcrawler's Banff Cotton Candy Clouds, which if you're going to make an authentic Nightcrawler cotton candy, it should probably have like black pepper and liquid smoke in it because all of his teleportation is like fire and brimstones. Or you could just use eggs and make them like a stinky, savory cotton candy, which would be revolting, but no one would eat that. And then, of course, it gets real silly at the end. Let me see if I can find this. There is just, when you think of Carnage, what kind of a food do you think Carnage is into? Like, what kind of
So, I mean, this is tough because it's like, I feel like the Hulk recipe is something that is like visually identifiable as something comparatively similar to his color scheme, both in green and purple variants, right? And then there's Punisher's Italian wedding soup. Carnage to me would be some sort of like messy Italian dish that has a lot of red sauce splattered everywhere.
But he's kind of crazy and he gets a little bit wild.
Yeah.
So what if, hear me out. Italian pasta with Szechuan peppers.
Oh, I'm into that.
Yeah.
That sounds great. What kind of pasta? It's gotta be spaghetti, right? Or some kind of long noodle thing?
Oh man, they're like, oh God, this goes nuts. Yeah, this is like straight up how to make pasta from scratch.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's like mixing in, yeah. And then this one
doing that, but
this one I'm just like, okay, you guys are hamming it up a little bit. The classic, like the Thai dish Pad See Ew.
Yeah.
Well, if you're Venom, it's not Pad See Ew, it's Pad See Us. And it actually looks like Venom. So
that's amazing. Is that a tongue?
I think it's, I don't know what is, I think that's probably not actually a tongue that you're supposed to eat.
What is it supposed? I never even thought to make.
I think it's a bell pepper.
Wow.
But they're doing it with squid ink. Or I guess, yeah, they use a lot of activated charcoal to make things appropriately colored. This one,
Iborg Ninja in the Twitch chat says carnage asada.
See, that would be too obvious. That would make a lot of sense.
What? I love that. I think that's great.
And then there's the fantastic grilled cheese sandwich.
Side. We're friends now.
Yeah.
You and Max can fight to the death, but we're cool.
This one I got some questions with. Dazzler's Pizza Bagels. Where are you getting this stuff?
What? Well,
Alison Blair wouldn't make pizza bagels. She's a performer. She'd be on some kind of low carb nonsense. Like, I don't know.
You don't know that.
Dazzler doesn't know. I don't want to point fingers or anything, but I feel like between the fact that she jumped from a career in pop music directly into being a sort of not even accepted X-Man, I feel like she wouldn't be a great cook, you know? Anyway.
I mean, potentially, I would say if she had a career in pop music, she knew to eat healthy and clean. She had to burn a lot of fats and proteins on stage running around like crazy. I don't really think like donuts and pizza bagels and stuff like that might be it, but you never know.
Here's a weird one. Wolverine's Bayou Boil. Yeah, well, can you think of another X-Man who maybe would be a better person to be making Cajun food? Just like maybe a Ragin' Cajun of some sort.
I'm surprised Wolverine didn't get like something more Canadian, like Hawaiian pizza, which is Canadian.
I feel like it would be like Wolverine's maple drizzled sashimi nigiri or something. Like it would just be like something Japanese. It'd be like teriyaki, but with maple syrup. Like that would be and it's got like hair in it too, because it's Wolverine, you know?
Or you know what would be really good for him is like a stir fry where there's just like a ton of components that all have various types of cuts. You know, like you have like carrots and diagonals and
everything is just cut julienne. Anyway. This book is $30. I think it's $26 on Amazon right now. It is only up for pre-order. It comes out on the 28th of July. It seems like a lot of actual wonderful hard work went into this. There's actually a whole bunch of Marvel 8th Universe videos on YouTube if you want to go check those out. But big thanks to Inside Editions for sending that over and giving us a chance to argue about the X-Men for a minute.
They've also done cookbooks based on Fallout, Destiny. I believe they did Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, which I have. Which I want to make a Ronto wrap because I've eaten a few of those now, or I ate a few of those in one day. Don't judge, but I want to make them again. Pick whatever intellectual property of nerdom you're into and get cooking. The Fallout one,
the Fallout one has cocktails, which I'm into. Like I kind of want to learn some.
It also has like wonderfully like 50s looking photography in it, which is like a lot of it looks like kind of old school cookbooks where everything's like weirdly blown out and kind of gritty. I really dig it. And Van Herman on the YouTube chat says Star Wars has a series of baking books. That is correct. There is a ton of cookbooks based on that. So Ben Bamboo says, have you guys been watching the Mandalorian behind the scenes doc on Disney Plus? Favreau and his team came up with a new technology that's going to basically make green screen a thing of the past. Yeah, we've covered that before. I actually haven't watched that documentary yet. I really want to.
Yeah, I need to dig into that.
I'm ramping up for like a rewatch of Mando one of these days. I kind of just want to like veg out and like play a fun Switch game that isn't.
That's a good call.
And just like and marathon all 8 episodes again.
That's a fun time. Also, like I feel like we're probably going to hear about when there's more of that coming. Is there supposed to be more this year? Like they said, they're like, yeah we finished it. We didn't get shut down by COVID. Yep. So I don't know. I'm down for that.
For sure. That's like their flagship show. Speaking of flagship shows, I don't think you and I would be where we are today if it wasn't for one of the greatest television shows of all time, prestige television from the 90s that you and I remember very, very fondly. And we are talking, of course, about our good friends, Beavis and Butt-Head. Beavis and Butt-Head is apparently going to get a modern reboot. Mike Judge is involved. I'm super excited for this. This is obviously not an entirely new spectacle because we did get a reboot of Beavis and Butt-Head a few years ago, which was tonally completely consistent with the original, but I think kind of fell on deaf ears in terms of like finding an audience.
I wonder if this is going to be like, do we know if this is going to be a full from the ground up, like redesign, reboot, like new aesthetic or like new, like, is it going to try to be like, hey, they're like, I mean, they're not into 80s metal anymore. Like, I don't know. Are they going to be like into like Skrillex, you know, like that would be a weird thing to be like, they're still into like, you know, aggressive teenage music, but it's for a different generation.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I'm totally into that. Quick aside before we head forward. The 2007 Ninja Turtles animated movie is a direct sequel to the live action films. I was correct. Brad Woods on Twitter hit us up, and there's a scene where Shredder is basically looking at Splinter is looking at a shelf full of all the things from the movie, including the staff from the third one, the TCRI can, Shredder's helmet, and a whole bunch of other fun Easter eggs. But anyway, back to Beavis and Butthead. Now, since we're all like 90s brain damage, we can bop around a little bit here.
So like there was the 2011 version, which was, I thought it was really interesting because, and this has been talked about, I think, but like the original show is so hard to track down in like a complete set because the whole premise was they talked over music videos, which all belong respectively to different artists and different record companies. And it's just a complete licensing nightmare.
Yeah.
And then I think for like the 2011 version, they were like, MTV was like, let's just use stuff we own the rights to. So they were watching stuff like Jersey Shore and like Teen Pregnant Mom or whatever the show, like those ones, you know, but it was, I really appreciated that one. Like, I think it didn't get a chance to really find its footing. Like it just kind of disappeared after a while. I'm kind of genuinely surprised they never tried to make it happen online. Like, I feel like doing shorts, like doing like 2-minute Beavis and Butthead flash animations could have been a thing, but
I mean, the thing about Beavis and Butthead is that the more work they put into it, the worse it was for the most part. I mean, I love the movie. I love Beavis and Butthead Do America, but like my least favorite parts of that movie are the ones that are like fully 3D animated. The stuff that makes me laugh hardest on Beavis and Butthead is when they're barely animated at all. Like it's when they cut back from a video back to them and they're just like,
yeah.
Like that is the funniest stuff to me. And I hope they don't go overboard. The thing is about the 2011 version is that like, I really loved it, but that doesn't exist anywhere. Like, it's not like,
I don't know where you watch that.
That's the problem with so much TV now.
So
if it doesn't have like a legacy life on a streaming service, it's basically dead to time. And that's a bummer.
So we buried the lead here.
Has Disney Plus. I don't think so.
Yeah, I know. So what service do we? So this is going to be on Comedy Central, which is like, I feel like about time. That should have happened much sooner because Comedy Central knows how to actually, you know, produce adult animated shows. I mean, Adult Swim would have been great to handle Beavis and Butthead, but you know, you can't always get what you want, I guess. But yeah, like it's Mike Judge is going to be attached. It's going to be 2 seasons. Comedy Central also scooped up a Daria spinoff about. What's her name? Jody, I think, who is like she's like the one black girl at her school, which is going to be an interesting, like, I feel like that's definitely like ripe for some commentary on that. But
one thing I noticed too is I was reading the comments on the IGN news story based on this, and there was a lot of people basically saying that the show is going to be like completely neutered because you can't be offensive with comedy anymore. And a couple things on that. Of course you can. You just have to do it without like directly hate speeching and targeting entire groups. But 2, the original Beavis and Butthead was never like truly like an offensive comedy. In fact, some of the most hot water that show ever got into with parents was like glorifying fireworks and blowing up frogs and like
frog baseball was the big controversial thing.
That was the big one. And so like it was mild vulgarity and stuff like that, but most of that show was really just them just being like losers. Like,
well, I mean, the whole thing was like they would be like trying to score or trying to pick up chicks, and they just sucked at it. And like, I mean, there were regularly things on that show where they were like, here's like these dudes who grew up watching like, you know, Def Leppard videos trying to get laid and just like failing miserably because like that entire mentality didn't flourish. Like I remember, you know, there was like regular stuff like Daria was a very like 90s show that was also like, hey, it was, you know, smart and for a word that didn't even exist back then, but like it was woke. Like Daria was like, hey, here's what's wrong with everything. Like this is all very stupid. Definitely. And like, you know, like even in Beavis and Butthead, she was like, you guys realize you're never going to score. And they would be like, diarrhea, cha cha cha. It was like, okay, so you're like full on idiots. Like,
that They rarely learn their lessons. I mean, they were consistently the butt of the joke. I mean, the thing is with them is that, like, to me, they were like perpetually, ninth graders, like maybe even younger. I couldn't even tell. They were just constant. Like, they were never at the top of the food chain. They looked up to like derelict teenagers who were older than them that like lived in cars and like did crime.
Yeah,
like,
no, they always like they love Todd. Like,
yeah, Todd was a loser, but
it was like the fact that there is scientific proof that when you were a teenager, you have like less of the things in your brain that prevent you from doing dumb stuff. And I mean that with no disrespect to any teenagers watching, but like that's a thing. Like, your body is figuring out how synapses work and how to like function, and there's like hormones in there throwing a monkey wrench in the whole thing. So I don't know, like, what do two like brain dead teenagers look like in 2020?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. We have gotten maybe 100 comments from old Joey Jonathan in the YouTube chat saying Popeye the Sailor is next. He's repeatedly asking for Popeye the Sailor Man.
Do I even blocked or something? Like, I don't even see that. So there was rumors that there was supposed to be a Gendy Tartakovsky Popeye animated movie, which there's like a trailer for it floating around, which I'm super stoked about, because like give me Samurai Jack like animation for Popeye. Like, give me Sailor anime. I want that. I want more Popeye. I love Popeye.
Yeah, me too. I'm waiting for the time to just marathon Primal, because I think it's on HBO Max actually.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and there's almost no dialogue in that show, so I just, that feels like a wake up before everybody else in the family and like make a pot of coffee and just chill out and spend an hour and a half watching that.
I love this. Old Joey Jonathan says Beavis and Butthead should wear Papa Roach and Nickelback t-shirts. I kind of love the idea of them being like really into butt rock, or like,
brilliant.
Yeah, like if one of them's like Korn and Limp Bizkit, like that would be, if they're going to try to modernize it, that would be a really interesting way to do it. But even then, I feel like that's too old. Like, that's 20 years ago.
Gamer No Hope on Twitch says Duckman, Undergrads, Clone High, Super Jail. I think he's just pitching a bunch of shows.
I think there's new Clone High in the works.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah. With Lord Miller attached.
Shoujo on Twitch says there was a music video on Beavis and Butthead I watched in the early 90s that involved a dude choking on his own puke and dying because he was ODing. I was terrified of throwing up for years after that because I thought I would die. That's bleak, dude. Damn.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Let's get into it. Max, you know what? We're a bunch of big nerds over here, but I think we really need to flex our muscles and talk about the things that really matter in the world, and that's sports.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about sports.
Yeah, so this week on sports, a thing that's not doing too great, because sports involves a lot of men getting together and just getting real close, and there's sweat, and they all got to go on the bus and the plane and stuff like that. Sports is not great these days, to be honest with you. But sports also has a great idea, which is the Oakland A's, a local team to us here in the Bay Area, has decided that instead of having no one in the crowds, which is sad, they are offering a special where for 80 something bucks, you can get a cardboard standee version of yourself to sit in the stands and watch baseball for the entire season. So here we have some footage of baseball.
I think we have actual baseball footage. The only kind we can legally use, which is from the Super Nintendo game, Ken Griffey Jr.'s Major League Baseball, doing the baseball stuff, doing the big things, big whammies.
I think we got the story so much.
I think we have an actual like screenshot of this up here.
Let's take a look.
Am I showing this? I don't know if I'm doing it right.
Don't miss your chance to be at the Oakland Coliseum this season. For $89, you can get a cutout or a special foul ball zone cutout for $129. If a foul ball zone cutout gets hit with a foul ball, we will send you that ball. So you know how like when you're in the foul ball zone at the real baseball game, all the time you get these pop flies that come flying your way, and you catch them and you get to keep the ball. It's a great thing. It's an old tradition. People love it. They also have the Cracker Jacks and the other stuff. If you get hit with this, you get to keep that ball. And so you're gonna see a cardboard man get pegged in the face and not blink. He's just like, bah. And he's
like with real baseball, as so I'm told, as a huge virgin who doesn't know how sports works, like the human beings in the stands will like leap for the ball. They will get out of the way if it's coming too fast. These cardboard cutouts, people are just going to sit there like, and they're just going to get slammed. It's a shooting gallery. They turn it like, that makes me so happy. And I want people to troll this. I want people, like, it costs money, but I want people to like pay money to get like weird pictures, get a picture of your enemy put in the foul balls.
Yeah. And then they have to mail him a ball and he doesn't know why they keep showing up. Or you get a picture of yourself as if you were getting hit by a foul ball and you're just like this. You're like,
yeah, right. It just like cuts, or like pictures of animals. Like, I don't know. There's so much weird stuff that can happen with this. And it's like, that's my whole thing with sports, is that it's basically like it's all about rules. It's people who like rules and they're like, oh, and then the athleticism that happens within those rules. But I love comedy and chaos and dramatic twists, and not in the way that they always like hype up in like ESPN commercials, but like I keep saying stupid stuff like, what if they made the field rubber, or like what if they played basketball on a hill? Like they got to do, what if they made the football, they made it just a complete cylinder. They got to play with a vortex. Get weird with it. Have some fun. Get strange.
Think about it this way. How are they going to get these photos? Like they're going to have to, there's going to be like there's a photo submission guide, but I think there's going to be a lot of boomers who love baseball who are like, help me take, and there's going to be that photo of like them in the car with the glasses.
Oh God. It's going to look so weird. I love it.
It's going to be so great.
It's going to look like it's going to look like that, like what is it? Guess Who? Where they have to flip over the people and
There's also there's a lot of stuff that happens in baseball. Like there's birds. Birds love baseball. Birds show up all the time to baseball games. The birds have been hit by pitches and stuff like that. Birds will usually go in the crowd, but they try not to because there's always people in the crowd. But not anymore. So now you're going to have real birds landing on cardboard man taking a real dunk. And that's great. I think that's hilarious. Another thing that happens too is that it rains a lot outside, and a lot of baseball doesn't have a roof.
I think what they should do is they should take the ball and they should soak it in deer pheromones, and they should just let coyotes live throughout the stands. And so when they hit a big whammy, a big pop fly, a big home run dunker, or whatever it's called, and it goes out soaring into those little funny chairs out there, all these coyotes come out of nowhere and they go hurling after it, and they want to try to bite the ball and they fight over it. And so it has to cut away from the sports to watch animals fighting in a public place.
I like that a lot. I think they should also have the breadcrumb fan of the game, and that's a man who's made entirely of breadcrumbs, and they hold them up and then just birds swarm in on them.
That's a great idea. They have all these sports teams that are named after different animals, but they don't do any weird animal stuff with that.
No, not at all. Not at all. Yeah. This is a good time to introduce that. You know, we started the segment showing footage of old sports video games, and I think like it's really funny how full circle this became, because like old sports video games looked like cardboard cutouts in the crowd. And so, you know, it would be even funnier too if they put them on like mild hydraulics and they just were like,
I love that. God, that's funny. No, like, I don't know. I feel like we were promised Super Baseball 2020 long ago. That was one of the best baseball games ever because it had rollerblading robots and probably wizards. I don't remember what was in that game, but like we have a very depressing baseball in 2020. And I'm glad that somebody out there has got some crazy ideas to try to spruce things up and try to really make it exciting.
Stan Finnegan on YouTube says, can Max get a cardboard cutout of that awful monkey picture his wife hates?
Actually, no, that's a great... Do they have any rules about what you can or can't put up there? Can I
there's guidelines. I don't know if you could be like, this is my son, he's very sick.
Like, can I put up a picture of this screaming marmoset to raise money for marmoset research? Maybe. I don't know.
I'm into that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching our show this week. We had a really good time talking about marmoset research and imagining Ninja Turtles if we could see them, and also ghosts.
We did. We really covered it. In the words of sports, we really covered all those bases out there. We did a bunch of. I think it was a real home run derby of a foul ball this week.
I guess you could say we all got to third base this week.
Oh boy, that was
Thank
a
you so
working
much for
from
watching.
home run. We are going to be back next week. Are we? Wait, no. Also on Thursday next week.
Yes.
But then the week after, I think we're on Friday.
We'll let you know.
Yeah.
We'll tell you. We're good like that. You know, about 8 or 9 minutes before a thing happens, we'll probably one of us will tweet about it, and that's really that's you know what that is? That's imposter syndrome working full, just as intended. That's two people who are terrible at promoting themselves, but love the work they do. They just hate to brag about it because it's hard to do that.
I think this is, we have fun here. Also, huge thanks to Alexio, who is the one guy behind the scenes on this, who also just totally encourages us and presents us by hot dogs. That was a weird sentence, but he is the one who's figuring everything out on the fly and is totally cool with our bullshit. I think we get one S word for show. That was it. But
this is your chance. You got to eat that hot dog.
Where's that hot dog?
They flew away. We're on a delay.
It's probably gone. Anyway.
Yeah. Shout out to our sponsor, Hot Dogs. Enjoy some hot dogs this weekend.
Go have a good weekend wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Go have a great belated Canada Day and celebrate Canada. It's a good holiday. Yeah, watch Akira. The star of Akira's name is Canada. Oh, there goes that hot dog. Anyway, hope you have some good grilled meats out in the yard. Maybe some ice cold brewskis and put on a game on the TV and see if any of those cardboard boys get hit by the big whammies. Pop flies.
What are you talking about? The big whammy pop flies.
Yeah, get out there.
I know just enough about baseball and like hockey to fake it. I would really love to do a thing with you where you explain those things to me. Football, I think we're both a lost cause, but baseball, I know a decent amount. I don't think you know any of it.
I don't know about it.
You've been third base though.
Oh yeah.
Anyway. Happy up at noon. Have a wonderful holiday weekend, unless you live in a different country, and then enjoy your health care and less just immeasurably bad numbers.
Have a good one, everybody.
Ghost.